Hi, this is R Orlofsky, and welcome to the first episode of our exciting Pesach program. And we haven't done this in a while. Last year, it, of course, was during the 15 days to stop the spread, which is now over a year. And coronavirus, of course, has changed the Pesach situation. There are Pesach programs I saw that are open. But you can be sure that here in the Rabbi Orlofsky show, our Pesach program is open and running. I have my Matza tie, and we're going strong. And we have a sponsor for the first episode. It is sponsored anonymously in honor of Paul Laster Oliver Shalom's 5th Yortzeit, Avram Pesach ben Mordechai, which falls out on the 13th of Nisan. I have to say, Captain Paul Laster, I had the schus of knowing Captain Laster. His story is so incredibly fascinating. He was a secular Jew who was concerned for the future of the state of Israel. And he said that you're going to have a problem in your army, because if the people don't know what they're fighting for, if they don't believe in Judaism, or they don't forget about believing in it, if they don't recognize Judaism, they don't have Jewish values, why give your life for a Jewish state? Emigrate someplace where it's not so many problems. Yeah, that was his contention. So he went to the Israeli army, again, as a secular Jew, to say we have to teach Judaism to the armed forces, and they put him in charge of the IDF, because the Israeli Air Force, because the IAF, because the Air Force is the most important branch, because it takes so much money to train a pilot. You want to make sure that they're still dedicated. There was a story of a terrorist who was in prison, and he writes that he was basically ready to give up on the cause and say we just have to make a peace with Israel. And it was during Pesach, and he saw his one of the guards in the prison was eating chametz. So the Arab terrorist says to the Jewish guard, "You're not allowed to do that." And he laughed and he says, "What do you think? I'm worried about some law from 3,000 years ago?" And he writes, "When I heard that, I doubled down and said, let's stick to our principles, because these are people who don't believe in anything anymore, and we'll win this war." So that's what Captain Laster basically came and said to them. You have to teach them basic principles about Judaism. And so he arranged for the pilots to study in Or Sameach, take them to different programs, take them to meet with different religious thinkers from all streams. And eventually the Air Force cut his program because too many of the pilots were becoming from. That wasn't his intention. His intention was just that they should develop a Jewish identity. So eventually, of course, he found his way back as well. And his accomplishment and accomplishments on behalf of the Jewish people is something to be noted. And so his neshama should have an aliyah, and the world is a better place for having had him in it. Okay, and a quick shout out. Every now and then I get asked to give a shout out. A shout out to my good friend, Rabbi Ami Cohen, who I had the schus of meeting and having a kashered with over the years. And we went together with Rav Moshe Shapiro to Bnei Brak, and he brought me in to see his dad, Rav Dovid Cohen, who gave me a whole bunch of his shiurim and inscribed them to me, which I prize and cherish to this day. And he's given me some great stories. Anyway, it's his birthday. So a shout out, Ami. We love you and happy birthday. Okay, let's get down to business. Yeah, this is an unusual year if you haven't noticed. I'm not just talking about Corona. Gosh, enough already. Yeah. It's Dr. Fauci in America basically told people who've already had the vaccine that they should still wear 2 masks. Okay. Anyway, it's been an unusual year on a lot of accounts. But be that as it may, we know that just from a calendic point of view, I don't know if that's a real word or if I just made it up, but listen, I can coin a phrase if I so choose. From a calendic point of view, this has been unusual. Shabbos Hanukkah wasn't Parshas Miketz. That almost never happens. Yeah, I mean, it happens, but it's rare. Asar B'Teves came out on Friday. It's the only fast day that you fast on Friday when it comes out. Everything else you push to a different date. So I had Asar B'Teves. We, of course, here in Yerushalayim had a 3-day Purim. And now we're going to have Erev Pesach on a Shabbos. Well, Klal Yisrael is making a siyum this week on Masechet Shabbos in Daf Yomi. We, of course, here in my own shir, that we give a Daf Yomi shir that you can join. Just go to the Rabbi Orlofsky website if you want to sign up. We're starting Shkolim already. We were a little bit ahead. But there's a lot of sugyas that discuss what happens when Erev Pesach comes out on Shabbos, because you start to bring a Korban Pesach. As a general rule, you're not allowed to bring korbanos on Shabbos, except, Korban Tamid, Korban Musaf. There's a special dispensation to bring it. And people had to bring their own knives to the Beis HaMikdash. There was a run on knives, as you can imagine. The Gemara says that one year they counted and there was 1.2 million Korban Pesachs offered up. So knives were at a premium. You had to work fast to do all those korbanos in the period of time that you had. People would bring their own knives. The Gemara discussed, how'd you get it there on Shabbos? Ended up sticking it in the wool and letting the animal carry it. But once they shechted it, they had to wait on the Har Bayis. They couldn't go home. That night they would go home, and they first roasted the Korban Pesach. So there was always challenges when it comes out. This year, of course, is one of those years. And what is the challenge? It's been a lot of years. I don't know how many people remember. I was just talking to somebody who definitely, I know for a fact, was alive the last time. And they're like, what are we doing? I don't remember any of this. So I'll tell you what you do. You have to be all Pesach Erev Shabbos. Yeah? Now, normally, the night before Erev Pesach, you do your bedika with a candle and a feather and a spoon, searching out for all of the chametz, and then you burn it Erev Pesach in the morning. Well, that's not going to work because you can't walk around with a candle Friday night, and you certainly can't burn it on Shabbos. So Thursday night, we will do our bedikas chametz, and we'll do sreifas chametz on Friday morning. But of course, you have to hold on to some chametz. You have to hold on to some chametz. Why is that? Because you have to eat 3 sudas on Shabbos, 1 of them at night and 2 of them during the day. Now, ideally, you should eat the one at night. You should eat the one in the morning before chatzos, and you should eat the one shalashudas in the afternoon. But you have a little problem here, and that is Erev Pesach. You can't eat matzah. Can't eat matzah. The Gemara gives a very dramatic description of what it's like when you eat matzah on Erev Pesach, which I will not share with you. You're welcome to go and look up the Chazal. I get into enough trouble as it is. The last thing I want to do is quote a Gemara that could somehow get me into even more trouble. But I'm even Yavin, and those who would like to look it up, you go look it up. I've heard for years from kids who, when they learn Bereshis in elementary school and they skip the story of Yehuda and Tamar, they will run home and learn it. That's why I think minig in many girls' high schools is to skip Sefer Vayikra. They figure you'll run home and read it. I've spoken to girls' high schools. You ever see a hypnotist makes you forget the number 7? There's a count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So every high school I go to, it's 4-year high school. I said, what do you do in Chumash? Bereshis, Shmos, Bamidbar, Devarim. Nobody. So I imagine it's because it's Kajim and Tum and Tara, and so they figure that this way, you'll run home and you'll read it because you figure it must be one of those sections you're not allowed to talk about in public. If so, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. When I speak in England and South Africa, they use the term brilliant for it was nice. In America, you speak, they say, oh, that was very nice, or, it was good, it was enjoyable. You go to these places, they go, brilliant, Rabbi. And I was like, well, yes, I suppose so. But anyway, so you can't eat it Erev Pesach. The truth of the matter is that there are those who have a minhag not to eat it for the month before. And I have to tell you, I never have such a taiva to eat matzah as I do the week before Pesach. It's obviously psychological. Yeah? Godu mitzvah mishenu mitzvah. It's always greater if you keep a mitzvah when you're commanded, because it's psychologically more difficult. Because when I tell you you can't do something, you want to. When I tell you you have to do something, you don't want to. If you don't believe me, just look when it comes to a fasting. There are people who never eat breakfast. Their mothers have shed tears. Have something. Have a cup of coffee, have a Danish. I don't like to eat in the morning. They never eat breakfast. Sometimes they forget to eat lunch. I've met people like this. 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're like, I didn't eat anything today. I do that sometimes. And my wife said, what are you talking about? You had this, you had this, you had this. I said, okay. But besides that, but there are people who don't eat breakfast. Sometimes they forget to eat lunch. There's no problem, except on a fast day. 9 o'clock in the morning, they're pacing up and down. What am I going to do? I didn't eat anything today. Oh my gosh, how am I going to make it through? What time is it? 9:01. Oh my gosh. Maybe I shouldn't go to work today. I better lie down. I think I'm getting a headache. What time is it? 9:02. Oh, how am I going to handle it? So what's the problem? I didn't eat anything. You never eat anything. I know, but I always could. You tell me I can't. I'm stopped. And that's why I have no problem staying up very late at night, except on Shavuos night. I'm sitting at the suit at 10:30 at night and I'm falling asleep because I have to stay up. I can't stay up. Yeah. I always get depressed on Sukkot, the pressure to be happy. So, there's a certain psychological aspect. So when you tell me a month before you can't have matzah, I'm thinking, matzah. Matzah is so exciting. Because there are certain things that are just such a thrill. Now, to those of you who do not eat gebrachs, you have my greatest respect. I certainly don't want to say anything to disparage anybody's personal observance. And I did not grow up not eating gebrachs. We grew up eating gebrachs. Knedlach, matzah fry, delights. But one of the great delights is, because you don't really have too many cakes that are made with matzah meal because they come out pretty heavy. So the miracle of potato starch. Yeah. So when we you come home from shul, so you make kiddush. What are you gonna do? So you wash already. I mean, it's just a matzah, so you wash. And you can go through a box of matzah with no problem. Cream cheese and butter and jelly. And again, for those of you who don't eat the brachas, You don't know what I'm talking about, but trust me, that's not even the greatest thrill. The two greatest thrills is when you have gefilte fish with grain on a matzah. The other one is chopped liver. Chopped liver on the matzah. It's so exciting, yeah. And you end up just eating a tremendous amount. It's just the nature of it because matzah just crackers, It's an amazing thing, when it comes to challah, people are like, I don't want to watch, it comes to matzah, So you can't have any matzah Erev Pesach. And you can only eat chametz till approximately 10:30 in the morning, whatever it is, so zman achila. And that's it. Now you have a problem because I got to get in 2 meals in the morning. Like 10:30 in the morning. So what do? So the minyanim daven very early. You have to go to shul, you have to daven, and you hurry home, and you wash, and you eat your bread, and then you bench, and then you take a walk around the block. I was to say that walk around the block in the morning, see everybody walking around is a kind of dramatic moment. The last time I did that was after I got a shiva from my mother. The Rav took me and my brothers. We all had to walk around the block. It was a dramatic kind of a walk. So this is a little less dramatic, but you see a lot of people walking around the block to make a hefsek. Then they come home, they wash again, they eat their second suda, and they bench. Right? Now, this is so nerve-wracking because your whole house is Pesach. You have to be Pesach. So what do you do Friday night? Now, some people actually are chametz. They mamish have chametz of food in disposable kalim or whatever. I may have mentioned this last year. My in-laws, Erev Pesach in the morning. They had the house Pesach. They were all set, and my father would go out and buy bagels, and they would sit down on the Pesach kitchen table with a paper bag. They'd eat their bagels, wrap it up, take it to famous chametz, and that would be just too nerve-wracking for me. Right? It's a pressure. You have to be ready. You have to have everything well Pesach before Shabbos, which has become a status symbol. When were you Pesach? Oh, we were Pesach Wednesday. We were Pesach Monday. We were Pesach right after Purim. I was after Tu B'Shvat on a Uber year. We had an extra chodesh. We've been eating Pesach now for 4 months. Really? We never changed over. We've been eating Pesach for the entire year. Yeah. So when your house is Pesach, we're in that state now. We were sort of like half and half. And grandchildren come for Shabbos, and they're running around the house with like cookies and very nerve-wracking. So you have to have everything all done. There are these, for my Sephardic friends, Pesach, you can eat these kidneys cookies that basically look like real cookies, not like the potato starch cookies that we eat. That really you should be eating them with ketchup. They're basically French fries. But they have these kidneys cookies that are like real cookies, and so people give their children the kidneys cookie. The problem is that when you're doing bedikas chametz, you can't really tell the difference between the kidneys cookies and regular cookies, and you're like finding these little half pieces of cookies all over the house. So kind of nerve-wracking. My good friends the Amishes make their whole house Pesach. They pick up their family and go away. They come back like this before Pesach. Everything's all set, So you have to decide. Okay, so let's say I'm not bringing in a whole chametz supper, but I have to make hamotzi on something. So there are people who get a challah, and they slice it up and everyone eats their kazayas. This is a little problematic because it tends to make a lot of crumbs. Now, my good friend, Rabbi Yitzchak Summers, Rabbi of Anshe Emes in Los Angeles, we went to yeshiva together the first time in 1975. I was only 3 years old, but I had the schus when he brought me out for Shabbos a number of times, and I would eat a suda by his house. And he tells me that if you use a straight blade knife, it doesn't make any crumbs. The problem is that people use serrated knives, and that's when you end up with crumbs. But otherwise, you wouldn't have any crumbs. So I could think about that. I've never actually tried it. I really should, because I still use the challah knives that came with the board. I stick the handle back on and try to hold it carefully. But anyway, so that's why the advice that they give you is to eat pita. Now, I remember 2 Erev Pesach Shabbosim ago. I had a lot of little kids. And I bought too many pieces. I have to explain this. This is important to understand. Yeah. Do you ever go over somebody's house where there's a mother or father, a teenager, and you, and they make like 4 pieces of chicken? Everyone takes like 1 piece of chicken, and so there are no doubles. You had a piece of chicken. Okay. I can admire that. I can't relate to it, but I can admire it. I've seen this. Sometimes you're hungry. But you already had your piece of chicken. That's it. Have a salad, some green beans. That's more than enough for you. A cup of tea, and you're done. Now, my mother had 6 boys. And you have to understand that I grew up in a house where we express our love through food. That was really the main way that we expressed love. Yeah. It was tough. I tried to keep Seder in a house, with these 6 rambunctious young men. So, but the easy way was food. Stick something in your mouth, you're not talking. When we first married, something happened at work. I don't remember what it was. It was some kind of problem. I was on the way home. My mother called my wife and said, he had a bad day. Make a mistake. Put a mistake. That's how we deal with tension. That's how we deal with problems. That's how we express love. What a mistake. Yeah. So my mother, on a Rosh Hashanah, used to make her own gefilte fish, balls this size, and I'm not exaggerating, and then stuffed cabbage, and then her own chopped liver. Sometimes she would also make eggs and onions. You get a little bit of both on the plate. Yeah. And then a choice of soup. She'd make cabbage soup with flanket. And if you got that, you got a big piece of flanket. Or you got chicken soup, and then you had a choice of, well, you have a choice. I think you got everything in the bowl. You got a knedlach, and you got a choice of alphabet noodles or regular noodles and Chinese noodles on the tray and on the table, and shkede marak, and my father used to get either kashered or a piece of potato kugel and put it in, And then you came to the main course, which was always a turkey and a brisket. My mother could not make one of those 2. In fact, when I was one time coming into America, so my brother calls me up and he says, listen, don't tell mom you're coming, because she'll make a turkey and a brisket. Now, if she doesn't have enough time, she'll only make a brisket, or a turkey. And I have to tell you, it's not that easy to finish an entire turkey with me and my mother. I mean, I made a yeoman's effort, but, my mother would make a pot of soup, and as I'm eating the soup, she's refilling it as I'm eating it. I was like, no, I just can't. So I'll have to throw it away. I was like, oh, okay. Well, there's a Norse story of Thor with the giants, and they give him a drinking horn to finish, and he can't finish it. Turns out it was attached to the seas, and he drank half the sea. Yeah, That's nothing. If my mother was giving him chicken soup, but and then about $300 a bakery cake. You know what I mean? And that was Rosh Hashanah. And at the Seder, it was the same basic thing, only there was no stuffed cabbage. But if she had everything else, I would be way behind, because I was still, eating my matzah and stuff, and the courses are just lining up, in front of me because I just can't get to them. Now, my in-laws, my mother-in-law would make soup twice a year, Erev Yom Kippur and Erev Pesach, because you're eating matzah, then you're eating maror. It was so much fun that then we eat them both together. And then at the end, you have to eat more matzah. So how much can you eat? How much can you eat? So you have some soup and some boiled chicken, rice, potatoes, I don't know, and that's it. Cup of tea, piece of cake. Now we're ready for Afikoman. So me and my wife came from two different perceptions. In fact, my mother, when she used to make chopped liver, she had a very specific way of serving it. You had to put a lettuce leaf on the plate, and then you put on the chopped liver. And then there were 3 slices of cucumber and 2 slices of tomato, and a green pepper circle on top, and a radish flower. And sometimes, you know what? I haven't given a recipe in a while. I'll give you my mother's chopped liver recipe. I don't think I ever gave. Get about a pound of kashered livers, or half a kilo, if you're in Israel. Get a medium mixing bowl with chopped onions. Fry them up with oil. And then use a meat grinder. Put in the livers and the onions. And at the end, 3 hard-boiled eggs. Now, always put in the hard-boiled eggs at the end, because the liver and the onions get stuck inside the machine, but the egg helps to push it out. And if some egg gets stuck in, there's kefela, I understand, but fried onions, liver, just a second. Anyway, so put it through. Now, if you don't have a meat grinder attachment, you can use a food processor, but you got to be very careful. It's very hard because you want it to be like a little grainy. You don't want it to be a pate. I mean, some people like it a pate, but to me, it should have a little body to it, personality. So so like when I would make chopped liver, my wife would be like, "It's too much work," and I said, "Why? What's the big deal?" She goes, "Because it's Erev Shabbos, and you're sitting there with the little knife cutting little radish flower." And I was like, "But how else do you serve chopped liver?" She goes, "What if you just put it on a plate and put it on the table?" And I was like, "I don't know. I've never done that. I've never even seen it. I don't know how it works. It turns out that you can eat it that way. I didn't know. I learned something. But and if you put it on a matzah, anyway. But so I come from a house where we always make too much food. It's just too much food. That's how we cook. My mother didn't know how to cook in small amounts. It was impossible. So we tend to make more food than, And, my wife has been converted, so that we make enough food, and then she's like, "Do you think this will be enough? Maybe we should throw up another pan of chicken." I don't know. Should I bake another cake? Do you think of that? And I was like, "I'm sure it'll be fine." This goes against all of my training. Anyway, so I knew that we have to eat pitas, right? Two meals, and all you're basically eating is pita. So I figure, okay, so it's a pita person. I got a bunch of little kids. And because I thought pitas would be kind of boring, so I bought those like thick Yemenite pitas. Anyway, we finished our 2 meals, and we got like 15 of these gigantic pitas left. I'm sitting there ripping them into little pieces, flushing them down. Anyway, so be careful if you're going to go with pitas or with challahs or with any of these things. People are not going to eat too much of this because you're not eating your meal with with it. Now, where do you do it? The whole house is Pesach. So you can do like some Hasidim do. My son is married to a Langzim, a Hasidic family. And he says they put down a plastic at the table, they eat their matzahs, and then they take up the plastic and take it away, so there shouldn't be any crumbs. They're very nervous about gebrachs. So I guess it would be a similar thing on your Pesach table. You can put out your plastic and eat your bread over there, you know what I mean? And then wrap it up and take it to the toilet, and shake all the crumbs in. And it's one thing. If you have a backyard or you have a porch, you can do it there, and then you have to sweep it up and flush the crumbs down the toilet, whatever's left. You could, but then you have to also make sure to clean out the broom. Yeah. So it's a little nerve-wracking. If you're in an apartment building, you have a lobby, you can put it there, and have more of a room to be able to try to get it. So, okay, these are things that you have to do, but it's it's a little nerve-wracking. Now, really, you should be eating shiurim later in the afternoon, so people are knowing to be able to eat, at least some fruit or things like that. L'shem shiurim. Some people eat knedlach because since it's boiled, it doesn't have the tom of matzah, so they would have them make a mezainis on it. Okay. All right. These are the challenges coming up. The other downside is you can't even start getting ready for the Seder until the night. So I just heard that my upstairs neighbor is Chaya Greenwald, or seminary. He just told people, he says he's going to set the whole Seder. He's got a lot of people coming. Everything's going to be all set up, etc. And they're going to eat in the kitchen. Yeah. We have a chotzer, I guess, we could eat out there, have everything all set up. But it's, it's depends on the weather. It's supposed to rain in there this coming week, so see what happens. But you have to get everything ready. The good side is that at least you're relaxed. You don't have the crazy Erev Pesach stuff going on. You have to eat. You have to make sure to eat. Yeah. My son-in-law, Momo Kutkis, who was nice enough to host us last Shabbos, he said, I'm going to miss out on one of the great treats because Erev Pesach, people are busy, you're changing over, things are nish to hin, nish to hair. What are you eating? He says, my mother would just fry up the schnitzel pieces with potato starch, and you could everyone knew, the whole family came over Erev Pesach and would eat the fresh, hot schnitzels right out of the pan. So he says, this year I'm going to have to miss out on that because we can't fry them on Shabbos. I guess you can make them beforehand, but not the same thing, just not the same. Some people end up not eating Erev Pesach because it's so crazy, when I had the schus to be a scholar in residence on occasion, they sometimes make these spreads. Sometimes it's like tuna and egg salad and stuff like that you can, have part of. Some places they make a whole fleishka spread. People eat. Obviously, there's no matzah, there's no bread. You eat ganz fine. Yeah. The last time Erev Shabbos, that Erev Pesach Shabbos, I had the schus to be in the Kinar Hotel near the Yam Kinneret up north. Shlomo Skolnick, a dear beloved friend, who runs a wonderful tourist services organization called Travel Deal. If you're looking for anything in Eretz Yisrael that you need to take care of, I highly recommend it. And he would bring my family up, and he treated us farmers like Malchus. It was just wonderful. And those are some of our finest memories. And he himself and his wife are just the most wonderful people. We, in fact, a couple of years ago, we just went up for the day, and they just, I said, listen, we'll eat supper and I'll do a shir, and he just the whole day couldn't do enough for me. It was just such wonderful people. But I remember I was there on Erev Pesach, Shabbos, and they have like a little, chotzer, and piles of pitas. And you'd wash and you'd eat your pita and brush yourself off and go into the dining room, which was all Pesach, and have your Suda. What happened to everything afterwards, I don't know. Maybe the Arabs took it back, they dealt with it. I don't know what they did with it, but wow, isn't that great? You just go someplace else, you eat your pita, and you walk away and leave it for somebody else to deal with. I do this with many things in my life, actually, but this is a great time to be able to do it. But what can I tell you? It's an unusual year. It's an unusual situation. You have to make sure you have all your Seder preparations done beforehand. Grind up your horseradish and keep it in an airtight container so it doesn't lose its charifos. Wash your lettuce. You can make your little bags of mara beforehand, but make sure it's dry, because if it's wet, it could be a problem. Make your charaises. Make your roast your shank bone or whatever it is that you're eating, on your Seder plate, and boil up your eggs, and all those sort of things. Get all that done beforehand. Make as much of the food for the Suda as you can beforehand, so that you can hopefully start your Seder, as quickly as possible. Here in Israel, they changed the clock. Mamish Erev Thursday night before Pesach. They couldn't wait another 3 days, so we don't have to start the Seder so late. But what can I tell you? The people who run the state of Israel don't always have those considerations. The date they chose to expel the Jews from Gaza, they picked an English date for whatever considerations, and only later they found out it was Tisha B'Av. They realized the optics of dragging a bunch of Jews out of it. Tisha B'Av might not be the most positive message. But, the UN headquarters, before 1948, when they came, they set up the UN headquarters in Jerusalem. They chose a mountain that in Christianity is known as the Hill of Evil Counsel. Again, I would have considered that before setting things up. But that's it. Erev Pesach is a special time. So get your preparations, get ready, and then Erev Pesach, mamash like a king. Sit back, relax, go into the Seder well rested, and hopefully all of your preparations are done. Although I must say there's still enough time for Mashiach to come, and you'll all come here in Yerushalayim. I think they'll take off the coronavirus restrictions by then, and you'll all come in, and we'll be standing there on the Har Bayis, with our Korban Pesachs, waiting to go home Saturday night, roast them, and eat them the right way. And Mitzvah Hashem, we'll all share that Pesach experience together. So that's it for our first episode in our Pesach program. If you'd like to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com. If you want to find out about our new Masechta that we're doing in Daf Yomi and join up for the shir, you can sign up over there. I still am giving my mitzvot shiurim, one on Sunday and one on Monday. You can sign up for there, even though they're ongoing, but I always give a quick review before every class so that you can fit in wherever we have to be. If you you can leave a comment about the show, you can send me an email, you can sponsor an episode, whatever works for you. And that's it for the first episode of our special Pesach program. I am David Orlofsky, and this is the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode. And we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.